Easy as 1 + 1. Easy peasy. Neil Brownell, the crazy inventor, here to prove to you that you are amazing. I am so positive that I can prove to you that you are amazing that I put it in writing. I've been doing a series of videos on science has literally proven that God exists, that different dimensions exist, that the golden rule, raising yourself to raise other people, raising other people to raise yourself, exist. And this is another video on how you can use that information to your advantage. Quite recently, a woman that I hadn't spoke to in over 20 years sent me a plea from her deathbed. And the plea was, please break the generational curse. Well, this is something that I've tried to do throughout my entire life. But when it came from my mother's deathbed, I saw things just a little bit differently. I love my parents. I always have. I've shown them that love for 30 years on a daily basis. But they were extremely toxic people and they abused their children. And when I couldn't get them to stop doing this, I finally said, enough is enough. I love you. I wish you well. I hope you have a magnificent life. But I want nothing to do with you unless you start treating us with respect, me, my siblings, with respect. Although I would have made the same decision again if the situation was the same, because it came from my mother's deathbed, I saw things just a little bit differently. So the first thing we need to define is, what is the generational curse? Well, the generational curse is when parents, and this is going back through time as far as you can go, when parents pass the traumas that they experienced as children onto their children. And then their children pass it on to their children. And so on and so forth. Like I said, it goes down through the centuries. When a child is growing up, they see their parents as adults, as independent, as strong. They never see them as young, vulnerable little kids. So when my mother sent this plea to me to break the generational curse, I started looking into what their childhood was like. And this is where the generational curse started for my parents. My mother was the oldest child of a very large family. And her father, behind closed doors, was an extremely mean, violent alcoholic. He used to get drunk and then beat everybody in the household, virtually bloody, on a regular basis, with the exception of my mother. My father grew up with a mother who was a manic depression, bipolar, at a time when there was no medicine to help her, but there also wasn't even a diagnosis. So for this reason, she was extremely verbally abusive towards my father. And remember, they're just little kids. Towards my father, towards his sister, and towards my dad's father, my grandfather. So this is where the generational curse happened for them. And if you now fast forward from them being that little vulnerable child that had no idea how they could navigate this incredibly dysfunctional family, I can't even imagine what it would be like to be a little girl, a child, and watch everybody in the household get beaten while they weren't even touching me. It would be bad enough if they beat me, but if he wasn't beating me, but he was beating everybody else, I'm actually part of this family, but I'm not part of this family. And that's going to have scars that's going to go through a person's life from the moment it started to all the way until they pass. And when they grew up, my parents then carried that generational curse and passed it on to their children. My mother used to get really angry if something was wrong, and she would start punching the kids, me specifically, in the head, and screaming and yelling about how stupid we were. My father was very abusive. Do you see a pattern here? I'll guarantee that my grandparents went through something similar. I'll guarantee their parents went through something similar. That's why it's called the generational curse. So the very first thing we need to do is to realize that no one is to blame for this. Not your parents, because it came from their parents, and not their parents, your grandparents, because it came from their parents, and so on and so forth. So nobody's to blame. This is just something that has happened over and over and over. But finally, science has figured out ways that the brain works in order for us to deal with this garbage that was put on us and to now get rid of it and start to heal and get better and leave it behind. So the first thing that you need to know is that you need to let the anger go. Being angry at previous generations, your parents, and so on and so forth, is not going to hurt previous generations. It's going to hurt you. Anybody you hold anger against, you simply are not hurting them. You are hurting yourself. So the first thing you need to do is to let it go. The next thing that you need to know is that you are good, literally made out of pure energy of goodness. Science has shown us that. And our goal is to raise our vibrational melody as high as we possibly can by helping other spirits raise their vibrational melody. So once you have let the anger go, the next thing you need to know is how you can get rid of all that muck and junk that's been running around in your head. I had the generational curse running around in my head 24/7, every single day of my life, every single waking moment of my life. For 65 years, I'm 66 now, and it's only been in about the last year that I finally found something that science has shown to literally change the way that you see things and think in just, well, you can actually, I started changing it within minutes, literally minutes. It started changing, and within a day, 2 days, a week, it just kept getting better and better and better. And now that I'm into it for a year, I have almost none of that junk running around in my head, unless I'm extraordinarily tired, and then just a little tiny bit here and there. Well, this technique that the scientists use, I call a peaceful, quiet mind, because that's exactly what it gave me For the first time in my life, I have a peaceful, quiet mind. It's not running around telling me how stupid I am, how dumb I am, how horrible I am, how I shouldn't even be here, so on and so forth. Any negative thought that my parents may have passed on to me, I finally have it in a spot where it's not there no more. And this is a technique I will tell you about in the next video. A peaceful, quiet mind. But for now, always know that you are good. You were put here to have fun. You were put here to learn. You were put here to experience goodness. So let the anger go. It's hurting nobody but you. And then get rid of that junk that the generational curse has put on you. Neil Brownell, the crazy inventor, like I said, so positive that I can prove to you that you're amazing, that I put it in writing and now have it in dyslexic form. I found out through my grandchildren, that they have dyslexia. And I found out that now we have a tool where the words are in a little different font and they're a little further apart and they're set up just a little bit. And for the mind of a person who struggles to read, this is so much easier. Give the gift of loving yourself to everyone around you. Neil Brownell, the crazy inventor. Until next time, thank you.